So, autism is defined as a neurodevelopmental condition that can affect the way a person communicates and behaves. For some, this can manifest in what's defined as restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior. People with autism may also experience differences with their senses that can affect their perception and approach to their surroundings. Autism is also known as Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD, as people with the condition have a wide range of characteristics, skills, and abilities of which no two people are completely identical. It should be kept in mind that autism is not a disease or illness, but a condition that some are born with. As such, it is not caused by parenting styles or the use of vaccines, and it cannot be cured or outgrown over time. It can cause challenges, but those with the condition can also exhibit many notable skills and talents that give them the potential to live fulfilling lives just like anyone else. This is what they should be anyway, but just earlier this year, Sia, the singer who sang Chandelier, for those who don't know, directed and released a film entitled Music. It is a musical drama film that stars Kate Hudson, Leslie Odom Jr., and Maddie Ziegler, and it marks Sia's directorial debut. The film follows Zoo, a newly sober drug dealer who becomes the sole guardian of her half-sister, Music, who is difficult to care for due to her autism. One, who names their kid Music? And two, Sia's portrayal of how to care for autistic people and interact with them clearly lacked research, and due to her own attitude prior to the release, only served to anger the community even more right before its release and especially after. Welcome to PsyPop. In this series, we'll be tackling how pop culture or something in pop culture has displayed a phenomenon where we can learn from it in the context of psychology and mental health. If you like this new series and don't want to miss out on future episodes, don't forget to show us support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell icon to get a notification whenever we post a new video. So, we've only been expanding our knowledge of the developmental disorder for years now. However, misconceptions are still frequent, and from my research, there are surprisingly a large list of them. So, this part of the video could be turned into an entirely separate video on its own. So I'll try to highlight the main points for this video. First, all people with autism have the same skills and struggles. Although people with autism share difficulties in the core areas of social communication, restricted and repeated behaviors, and sensory processing, every person with autism is unique and has different abilities and interests. This is why autism is called a spectrum disorder, and why support should be tailored to the person's different individual needs. So, some can be savants in a particular skill, while others have delays in speech or suffer from intellectual disabilities or mental disorders like anxiety or depression, just like anyone else. 2. People with autism don't experience the full range of emotions. They certainly have a hard time with it, sure, but they can feel the full spectrum of emotion, actually. People with autism often have very strong bonds with important people in their lives. They can do and have fulfilling relationships with family, friends, partners, and children. They may find it difficult to understand social cues and navigate through social interactions, but that doesn't mean they don't want to have any socialization at all. 3. There is an autism epidemic. The definitions of autism have changed over time, and we have better ways of assessing and diagnosing ASD. We now recognize a more comprehensive range of characteristics that would place someone in the autism spectrum. The current method of diagnosis is based on today's criteria, and years ago people would not have received the diagnosis if assessed against past definitions of autism. An increase in autism awareness and understanding has also led to improved developmental monitoring and detection of the early signs of autism in children, with parents and professionals more actively seeking referral for autism treatment and assessment. 4. Restraining. Finally, and one of the worst and the biggest misconceptions in the film, so trigger warning because we'll show pictures of that in a bit. It is a severely dangerous misconception called restraining. Restraint is the use of physical force to immobilize or reduce the ability of an individual. It is a highly traumatic experience, and this is considered a dangerous and abusive method of controlling people with special needs or communication difficulties. In schools or even at home by one's own family or caretakers. This method of abuse is frequently used in the film as a positive way of calming and dealing with the protagonist, despite its heavy criticism among those in the mental health community, which will be expounded on a bit later in the video. Now, the film made to represent people with autism made several key errors when portraying people having autism. One oversight would be that the person who is portrayed to have autism in the film is not played by an actual autistic person. Instead, music, which is the person with autism, again, it's a dumb name, is played by Maddie Ziegler. According to Maddie, her own research on autism consisted of her watching videos of autistic people having episodes and documentaries on the condition. Although it should be noted that Maddie was forced into the role as the autistic person as she was 14 at the time of the recording of the movie. Another oversight would be the approval and constant use of forced to restrain music during these episodes, which according to autism professionals is a horrible idea, as being held down or restrained is a very common trauma for people with autism, which shows the lack of research done on the topic of autism. So, Sia was responsible for the creation of the film and its representation of the community itself, and I will admit, she is a good singer. I love listening to Chandelier, and Cheap Thrills was cool, I guess. But for someone who's been making a film to spread awareness on autism, she's completely disregarded the opinions of any actual person with autism. To list this down, she refused to work with any autistic actors for whatever reason, and blatantly has bullied and trolled these people online, even when they offered to help her with the representation and the making of the film. She has also lied about her research efforts, or just did a straight up bad job at it. And she partnered with a very problematic organization that has been misrepresenting the autism community. Again, her lack of research and respect for the autism community was so obvious and prominent to the lead up of the film that by the time the film itself was released, she received so much backlash to the point that she deleted her Twitter so that no one would see how problematic she'd been acting. She posted all of this on the internet though, so there are screenshots of everything, which I hope have been showed to you by my editor throughout me talking. So, about the organization I referenced earlier, they call themselves Autism Speaks. It's an American company meant to spread awareness on autism, and they did start off well when they first started the company more than a decade ago to spread this awareness. But after a very horrifying ad in 2009, it all started to go downhill from here. It became blatantly obvious that in their campaigning that they weren't trying to help parents with autistic children or people with autism with their development, but rather saw them as something that had to be eradicated or cured. Imagine being a child with autism and seeing this ad and being told you are the problem for everything wrong in your personal life. It's traumatizing, to say the least. To quote directly from the Wikipedia page of Autism Speaks, because even Wikipedia is joining in on the roast session we have right now. Autism Speaks has been the focus of controversy. Over 60 disability rights organizations have condemned the organization for failing to represent autistic people and for exploitative practices. The autism rights movement and neurodiversity advocates see autism as a difference rather than a disease that needs to be cured, and have criticized Autism Speaks for seeking a cure. In response, former President Liz Feld has stated that 1/3 of people with autism also have a seizure disorder, half suffer serious digestive complications, 50% wander, and more than 30% are non-verbal, claiming that those difficulties can only be solved through medical research. However, the word cure was dropped from its mission statement in 2016. SIA had the bright idea of partnering with the organization for how to best help and represent autistic people. And they only made the backlash against her significantly worse. She said that they came on the project long after the film itself was finished, but if she really researched, she never would have partnered with them in the first place, further exposing her lies and incompetence in handling this sensitive project. For my thoughts and the conclusion of this video, since I've been rambling for a while, so apologies for that if you've come up to this point in the video already. In truth, I know this video won't do nearly as well here in the Philippines because of the algorithm and other factors, yada yada yada. But I just wanted to spread awareness of it because of my own personal connection to autism. I'm not sure if it's obvious, but I'm actually on the lower side of the spectrum of autism. So I suffer from a lot of eye contact, as I've mentioned in one of our previous videos, a lot. I struggle with forming a coherent thoughts, so I actually stop a lot of these videos, and I've actually taken several takes of the last couple of clips that I've recorded for this, because sometimes I'll just stop, sometimes I'll just pause because I don't know where to go next, even though the script is actually just right in front of me. And reading social cues is just really hard for me to this day. um, I used to be a lot worse, and in all of these fronts, but I just like to believe my family helped me with my development. They supported me significantly. So if you're watching, mom and dad, mwah, thank you so much for everything. I truly appreciate it as a person. So because of that connection and my general love for all things psychology and representation, when I see something like this misrepresented on a large scale by someone with a huge following, it just makes me a bit sad and disappointed. In the description, I'll link some programs and schools for those of you looking for a supportive environment to go to, or supportive environment to send your children to. If you want some place that is perfect for you or your child to study and to grow up in, or simply to get support from a community of kind, likewise people, I know at least your children or you yourself will be treated with the respect you deserve, regardless of any developmental or mental issues they or you may experience, because regardless of those, we're all human and you only deserve the best of treatment, whoever is watching. So comment any topic you'd like for us to tackle next. Sorry if this is a weird transition after going a lot heavier than I initially thought, a lot more personal than I initially thought this video would be. Comment anything you'd like for us to tackle next here in PsyPop, PsyPointers, or any concept you have that you want us to explore here in PsyPoints. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you all for everything.